Alright, so I know it's been a while since my last live stream video, whatever you want to call it. Probably almost a year now, or maybe even more. But it doesn't matter now, because for this summer, I'm going to be posting more frequently now. Hopefully I'll get it down to a rhythm of once a week, maybe more if I feel like it. Maybe less if I feel like it as well, but overall, just don't expect anything. Disclaimer, I think all your artwork is great. This is just my opinion on what you could have done to improve this piece better. Alright, so for this video, I'm going to be offering tips and providing feedback on user-submitted artwork. For example, for the first one, I'm going to be offering feedback on / critique, whatever you want to call it, from this artwork that was created by a user named Maul. Okay, first of all, while this composition is, it's very straightforward. It just got center composition, no use of, to be over here. No use of thirds or anything like this. It's just very standard, It's the default thing that you would use in, with a Blender camera if you were to turn on, what's it called? Viewport display, and then composition guides, and then you'd have center. It'd just be directly what the camera is looking at, and the whole point is that you shift your focus directly into the center of what the camera is looking at. I do appreciate how this user made use of the center composition, as you can see. Instead of just staying stagnant at the center of everything, your eye slowly goes upward to, the face, which is kind of the focus of it all. I also appreciate this curve right here of the belt, I guess you can call it. That's pretty cool, and it's a nice touch. However, I think it would have been better put to use if you could have made it curve either a bit more this way to, again, reinforce the idea that you're staring at the main focus is her head, or do something else with this, like perhaps, maybe doing something like that, like still make it wavy, but give the impression that her leg is not completely stiff. Second of all, I would like to have a few words about the center of gravity for this person. So, pretty standard for everyone. If you're a female, your center of gravity is like down here, and if you're a male, it's like up here, right? The thing about this pose, what makes it so
awkward looking,
I guess, for some people, is that it's like the way she's standing is kind of throwing that off a bit. So, for example, you see that she has her weight down here, but it's also it's almost as she's about to fall over, because this is like just going completely out of left field, if you will. This hand probably shouldn't be here, because if a person was really putting their hands on their hips, it wouldn't be right on their hip, it would be like right here, so
it would look something like this.
There's that also. As well as that, I should probably mention that if you wanted to, make this feel more evenly balanced, then just do that. Blind actions are so powerful in what they can do, and they can easily make or break a piece. Personally, if she was doing this, then you'd have to have her stabilize more, because currently what's going on now is she has this going outward, which means there's no weight here, but there's all the weight on this leg, and because she's leaning kind of almost straightly, I guess, besides her neck, just sort of going like that, you'd have to, bounce it out by making her lean this way. As a different set of tips, what you could do is have her leg stand more like this, like in that direction, I guess, whatever. And then have her leg, instead of going outward, kind of like that, have it go like not inward, but in line with her other leg. So, like they're kind of at the same Y level, you could say. And just have it do that exact same pose, but just not appear as if it were sticking outward like it is now. It would depend on what way, I guess, you have her pelvis going. What I'd do is that if you did as I had suggested, then you could just have it go that way or that way. It doesn't really matter. I'm also going to make a note of her neck here. So okay. Aside from everything I mentioned, this looks great down here. But up here, you can see she's very expressionless, and that's a lot of times when people are looking to make a calm kind of expression, they just leave it as it is, which can look very stagnant and stale, considering that a blank face is not the absence of movement, it is the absence of having any emotion. What you could have done to make her like look fierce or cool, if that's what you were going for, is make her eyebrows, like her face, just more visible on this side. I'll get into lighting in a second, but having more light on the face can make the expression more easy to read. However, in some situations, you can actually use dark lighting to your advantage by making them look serious or, dark and brooding and whatever. Yeah, so anyway, as I was saying, for something dark or cool, someone who's trying to look cool, you could maybe have them go like that with their mouth, or like smirk or whatever. And then, okay, so I'm not entirely sure if there are bones for the glasses, but if there is, then I'd recommend like sliding it down to the nose so you can at least see some of their eyes, and definitely their eyebrows too, because eyebrows can give a lot away about a person's expression. And as for her eyebrows, you should like make them look more like that, maybe like not angry, but definitely not where they are now. Just kind of relax, like, oh yeah, hi. Moving on, lighting. I'm gonna switch to like a purple for lighting tips. Okay, first thing first, you have really good lighting. It's pretty good. It's especially yeah, it's pretty good. I love like you've got great room lights over here. They kind of fade away down here, which isn't too good, but like right here, this is really strong, and then right here, this is great. And also, like just you have a clear key light, and you have shadows here, and it's not flat. There's evidence of dynamics in lighting, and I really appreciate that about this piece. Also, holy crap, these little specks of whatever, what are they called? I can't think of it right now, but that is such a good addition to your composition. This background is like pristine. I like the use of shapes here, and then the lighting, so it makes sense, because then you know why the lighting is semi-blue, like or at least at the very least you understand why there's like blue lighting over here and blue over here and blue over there, and it's just great. It's like I would say this is like expert level, but I do have a few things to say about it. Number one, you can see like the clear polygons in this, so if your PC can handle it, then I would recommend subdividing it, as well as like for the character too, because obviously when you look at the ring, you can kind of see the polygons there too. So yeah, here's my feedback. I hope you appreciate it and take it with some level of caution for your next piece. Next piece is a Valorant work of art, and this was created by a user named Destro. Alright, so let's begin, shall we? First of all, upon reviewing, there's a lot going on here. This background is really freaking cool. I love the building in the background and whatever's like behind there, and also that other building. It's just really cool and well thought out, and I appreciate how much time was clearly put into this. I also would like to point out that there's no shadows on these fingers. There's like none. There's the dark shadows. There's the shadows on the gun, which is the result from ambient occlusion, but there's none actually on the finger. And I find that interesting, because there should be like darker shadows on the fingers. But we'll get into that another time. Okay, composition-wise, not really arranged in any sort of composition rule that I can like discern right off the bat. I could go out on a leg and say it's like center composition, but if that were the case, I feel like the center would be like near here. As you can see, it's right in her hair, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. For the other one, it did, because as you can see, it's like on the character. It's arranged in a way that it goes upward, right? But not for this one. For this one, it's just kind of like, oh, we're supposed to look directly at her hair, or the side of her chin, or like what? And then it just kind of like, what I would recommend is like either making her head tilt more that way, for a reason that we'll get into later, or just like shifting the entire thing this way and down, so it's like more center aligned with the character. I was talking about pose. So her pose, I like it. I can tell you put some thought into how guns work and how you hold a gun, because like the expertise that you reign over posing hands and such seems to be pretty intermediate, as I would say. However, I do have one comment. I would recommend making these bend more over if you can without clipping through, because at this angle you could at least bend this a little more to make it not look completely straight as it is right now with this joint of the second joint of her middle finger, because again at this angle you won't see the bottom part of the finger clipping through because it's being hidden by the other one. However, I do have a comment. This part looks like it's clipping through right there. It's consistent, it's great, and then it just kind of goes up for a second, and I don't know what that's about. Another thing, I'm absolutely positive that this part is going through through her arm or whatever that is. So again, just check for clipping issues when you're working. Oh, besides that, I was going to make a comment about how you didn't have like this part of the gun. Wait. Yeah, this part of the gun hit her arm in any way. Most of the time what happens is like the user will not have enough room between here and here, so it'll like just go right through. But clearly you have not made that mistake, so I congratulate you for that. Let's talk about her like face. So as you can see, we don't really need to worry about center of gravity because you can't even see the lower half of her body at all. So that's not too much of an issue, but what is an issue is how straight this is. So as you can see, it's very straight. There isn't any kind of flow that's happening. Generally speaking, you're a little more limited when you only show a little bit of the character's body that you're trying to pose when you're looking to make a line of action. But it's still possible, so what I'd recommend is just doing something like that. There's clearly a line of action, and it's flowy, and it looks so cool. Alternatively, you could do something like that, although I guess that should be more down there. So that it's moving the other way, and you can create like some kind of, what's it called? Opposite, whatever. You know what I mean. Yeah, so you could do that as well. Those are my two recommendations. Otherwise, actually there is no otherwise. As for her face, I would like to make a comment. First of all, holy crap, thank you for not photoshopping this glow area. What I see so often in other people's artwork is that, yeah, you'll just draw like a circle there and then you'll blur it out and then you'll put it onto their eye and then it'll look really cool, right? But that's actually not how glowing works. Glow, especially when it's coming out of such a complex area as the face, it is much more complex than that because it has to interact with, the space between the eyebrows and then the nose right here and then the cheeks coming out right here, and there's just and her cheekbones like right here, and there's so much it needs to interact with, and just using an airbrush to go over the glow effects in Photoshop is just generally speaking not a good idea. Second of all, this was a little jarring to see. So as you can see, it's kind of the whole thing. If you look at it from like this distance, it's like pretty foggy and like blue, and it creates a good atmosphere. But then you reach her like nose, like whatever thingy, and it's just very well defined, and I'm not entirely sure what's up with that. It could be as a result of using Eevee, but that is only a conjecture that I made based upon, the fact that there should be shadows here and there aren't. There should be shadows somewhere on here and there aren't. There should be shadows here, 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 and there aren't. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If you didn't use Eevee, then and maybe it's like something weird with your lighting, then I digress. But I'm just saying that was a little jarring to see, so maybe like blur it out just a smidge if you can. Otherwise, all right. So lighting again, like I said earlier, I love the atmosphere that you're creating. The background is really cool. I love the stuff that's in it. But you do I would recommend like making the shadows more defined, because well, there are good shadows here and like here, down here and there and whatever. There's something missing about the shadows, and I feel like what that is the ambient occlusion. Because when you don't have ambient occlusion, especially when you're using Eevee, which I will turn on now. So, alright, if I had a light, like an area light, and make it a little bit bigger, I'm just gonna angle it that way. Turn the wattage up so you can actually see it. As you can see, the lighting looks a little weird, but that is because you don't have ambient occlusion turned on. What ambient occlusion does is, maybe I didn't do this right. Oh yeah, you can see it. So the closer an object is to another object, the more shadows it will create in that area. So you can see here we've got a dark spot right there, and that's because as a result of this sphere being really close to the cube. If we turn this off, then that would not exist, and it would create no sense of how close things are depending. So yeah, just as a precaution. Yeah, so just remember to turn these 3 settings on. Overall, lighting's pretty good. I would recommend adding more defined rims down here and along the gun and down here as well. Just around the character so that it's more separated from its blue environment, because as you know, blue plus blue equals blue, so there's no, variation. So there's no variation, and it can be hard to discern what's in the foreground and what's in the background. Luckily, you did blur out the background, which is great, and I applaud you for that. However, just think more about using rim lights to your advantage. Again, you can find Destro and Maul's credits in the description, and I've mentioned them in the video before, so there you go as well. Both of these are splendid pieces of work. However, they do need a little bit of fine-tuning to just make them a little bit better. So yeah, those are my tips to keep in mind when you are working on your projects in Blender. So there you go. I'll see you later.